Over the past 6 to 12 months, the noise around the running community has been building by the fact that the running influencers are bringing a bad rep to the sport itself and maybe doing more harm than good. And with running becoming even more popular year on year, alongside the fact that companies see running influencers as the perfect way to push their products out there, I thought it would be good to shed some light as to why I think some of this noise is justified and some of it is not. Now this might seem ironic coming from a man who produces 3 or 4 YouTube videos a week, but hear me out. So I guess we should start off by defining what a running influencer is, and then in my opinion what the difference is between a running influencer and a content creator. The bottom line for me is a running content creator will put their running first and then the content comes off the back of their running. An influencer maybe more so puts the content creation first over the sport of running, and I think that's where some of this toxicity has come from. So from a running influence perspective, you would probably see them produce or promote more content around brands, more sponsored content. A brand will look at them and go, oh, do you know what, we feel like we really like to target your marketing. And the first thought maybe in a running influencer's mind would be more along the lines of, oh, well, how much money can I make from it? Rather than, well, yeah, do you know what? I think I could work that into my training. And I think that would actually work for my running and my running journey in general. So I feel like there's a clear definition there. Now, just to be very clear, I'm merely stating what I feel is the difference between the two. I'm not saying anything is right or wrong at this stage. Quite honestly, I appreciate this video is probably going to ruffle some feathers and I don't really give a shit. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, we should start by saying that this culture and this way of marketing has been going on for absolutely years. Before social media, it was more a case of just inviting celebrities maybe to to big sporting events, to award ceremonies, basically giving what the society, I guess, would class as important people access to things before the general public, which again kind of emphasizes that status symbol that these celebrities have, or these important people. And of course that then for us, the general public, for me and you, builds hype around that sporting event, that award ceremony, that product that they have access to before everyone else. So when that does go out to the mainstream, if it's a product, then of course we're all going to have that inclination that, oh, well, if they've used it and they really like it, then we're going to go and get it ourselves. So it's very clever marketing. And as I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that filtering down into the running world at all. And I personally noticed influencer marketing becoming more of a thing back about 5 or 6 years ago. I work in web design and used to do SEO work for companies, quite large companies. And if you don't know what SEO is, it's search engine optimization. And you'd have 2 sections to that. You'd have organic search engine optimization and pay-per-click stuff. Back in the day, we're talking 8, 9, 10 years ago. And if you wanted the organic stuff, it was very easy to get you top of Google. Trust me, I could do it on quite a few websites. But of course, things change over the years, and Google itself and the internet has evolved to a point where it's no longer as simple as it used to be. And pay-per-click stuff is no different. If you don't know what pay-per-click advertising is, it's basically those adverts that you see on Google. If you go and Google running shoes, you'll see at the top and down the side adverts. And now you'll see, as things have evolved, a shopping feed across the top where people can click and buy shoes. However, that sort of started to fizzle out for a lot of my customers around 5 or 6 years ago, when companies started to realize that actually if they sent their product, regardless of what the product was, I'm not now talking specifically in the running industry, but in general, if they sent their product to someone with some significant following, they're realizing that suddenly, rather than spending thousands of pounds a month on these pay-per-click advertisements for potentially a small return and maybe even not even breaking even on it, they could just send out a product, 10 or 20 products, to influencers, and the cost for them is just the cost of the product itself. In exchange for some kind of marketing in return from them, suddenly they are directly targeting the audience that they are after, and it worked really well, and it has absolutely transformed that pay-per-click market, and many people have shifted over into that influencer marketing. Of course, as I mentioned, that's filtered into the running world, and of course with more and more runners joining the sport every year, probably one of the fastest growing sports I could imagine, with park run becoming such a popular thing and couch to 5K programs working wonders for the running world, it's wonderful to see so many people join the sport. And of course that means new brands are appearing, and those brands are looking to try and target new runners, experienced runners, with whatever their product is, and of course those influencers become an essential part of that marketing. And honestly, hands down, I have absolutely no issue with that at all, because as I've said, I've worked with clients in the past, not in the running space, but in other spaces, that have used influencer marketing and seen how well it's done for them as a company. So from a marketing perspective, I can see how it works really well. within reason. When I started my YouTube channel over 9 years ago, there were a couple of YouTube channels out there that really inspired me to kickstart my own journey. That was Sage Canaday from VO2 Max Productions and Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner. Both of them absolutely fantastic, and I still hold them in extremely high regard for the fact that they are just such not only great people. I've never met both of them. However, I've got to say, following their content over the years, they have stayed true to their morals, and I've been very appreciative of everything they've always put out on their YouTube content. Sage in particular was someone that I followed from his running journey. When I picked him up, he was literally in his early days running for Hanson Brooks, and then followed him through to his OTQ journey, and I still watch his videos to today. And with regards to Ethan, again, I followed his ultra journey. He produced some of the best running content out there at the time. It was absolutely incredible. That, coupled with his other documentaries on other runners and of course his running shoe reviews, made him such a fantastic all-round channel. And of course, with the space growing, more content creators are appearing, and the fight for the best content and the fastest growing creator, that battle will always continue. The push for perfection, the push to inspire, and the push for that perfect shot. Sadly, that has ended up in a runner being disqualified from the New York City Marathon this weekend because he brought a couple of people onto the course on e-bikes to film the race for him. Now, in all honesty, obviously I'm not here to cast dispersions on Matt. It's Matt Choi, obviously I know a lot of you know. I'm not here to cast dispersions on his character. I've never met him. I'm sure he's a wonderful chap. Seems to be very, very inspiring. However, I also believe this is not his first offence. I have seen his apology video. I have mixed emotions on this. That's not for me to go into. However, I do feel that this is one of those scenarios where the push for perfection and the push for content has become so far that he's completely had a massive disregard for everybody else around. And I feel like anyone that's in a position or in a headspace that feels they're above and beyond 55 other thousand runners out there for their own pursuit of content really kind of deserves the punishment that they've got. And I do feel like this is where a lot of the toxicity has come from over the last 6 to 12 months in particular, this pursuit of getting the perfect bit of content, this kind of push and drive. Now, obviously we've seen other things like this on YouTube and other platforms where people have overstepped the mark in pursuit of content in the name of content, because what happens is that viewing number, the amount of views that reel might get or that video might get, kind of spurs you on to do the next thing, and their logic kind of disappears out the window, and then these stupid decisions are made. So as I said, I'm not going to cast any dispersions on anyone. I just feel that that is a pretty big incident that needs to be highlighted. But the thing is, the content creation area and the way the world is going, there's a huge wave that is being ridden by a lot of people. Lots of new content creators are appearing, which, as far as I'm concerned, once again, is a wonderful thing if running is at the heart of your journey and you're creating content off the back of your running. And moving on to shoes, because this is another area of the industry that's causing more and more ripples, more and more issues between people, and people just not being able to trust as much as they used to. Again, as I said, back in the day, you would see content creators, I'll highlight Ethan once again, but also throughout the years, and it's something I've tried to do, I guess, is produce more longer term shoe review videos. Now, obviously, if a brand provides you with a shoe to review, which again, personally, I've had shoes sent to me for the purpose of review, it's important really at that stage, not only to put out that disclaimer, because that will switch off a lot of people straight away. And again, I totally understand why it does that. But at the second point, it's your job then to make sure that that test is as thorough as it can be. Now, I think, again, what's happened in this YouTube industry is that the chase for views and the chase for status and the chase to have the best video around one particular shoe or product, let's just label it as products in general, has kind of come to a point where we have to get a video out there within the first 12, 24, 36, 48 hours of something being released. And then what I would ask you guys to do, and because it's something that I've noticed, is question the testing, question what's happened. Don't get me wrong, I've done first run reviews before, but what I'll do is if I get a shoe, I'll make sure that I give that shoe a proper testing. If it's an easy day shoe, an easy day run is absolutely fine. If you're sent a shoe or you buy a shoe with a carbon plate in it or that's designed for speed, take it on a bloody speed workout. Take it out for what it's meant to be used for. Don't just produce something where you've run up and down a bit, got it back, gone, oh yeah, that feels all right, I'll share some points on that. That's not the idea. A lot of people are starting to see through that, which is nice for me because I've always prided myself on producing longer term shoe reviews, and something that I feel is really lacking in the shoe industry right now. And we can't just lay the blame there at the running influencers or content creators' door. This is also fueled by the brands doing these limited drops that have now turned into limited releases, that have now turned into drip feed releases throughout the year. So you might not get the mainstream drop for the main people until 6 months after the shoe. We saw this first with the Nike racing shoes, where they would drop a prototype colorway about a month before the main release. And kind of at that point you thought, well, what's the point in this? But do you know what? The main release is coming out in a month's time. That's absolutely fine. We can wait for a month. No problem at all. It's there to generate a bit of hype. And in the end, I didn't really ever have too much of an issue with it. And I don't think many people did in general anyway. It was kind of more of a race to get that prototype colorway. Now though, we're seeing shoe companies, in particular Adidas, are doing it quite a lot. You've got to enter a draw to get a shoe. I was very keen to get the Adidas Evo SL. I was influenced. We're all influenced out there. I really wanted it. I entered the draw. I didn't get it. I gather the main release is now March next year. So we're seeing a lot of people running it, but they're now holding it back for 6 months, and there may or may not be more draws in the future leading up to that point. And at that point, I just think things are getting silly, because what happens is the people that are fortunate enough to get those shoes then go, right, let's get some content out there as quick as we can. Look, I've managed to get this shoe. I've managed to get hold of it. See what I think about it, and then that will help you guys make a decision. But the problem is that video is coming out almost instantaneously without any testing. It tends to maybe just have a look at the shoe, and it's just driving this culture here that we're not really testing these shoes properly. And what used to be running shoe reviews where a good hardy test was put into them is now just becoming like a first look, or, oh, I've done a quick little run around the cul-de-sac. What do you think of this? I think it's really good. I think you should buy it, rather than people actually going to the effort of putting a bloody good test into them. And I guess the final thing we could talk about, but it could be a completely separate video, is the whole bib entry thing into world marathon majors or some big races that a lot of people can't get entry to. And then obviously, of course, it comes down to, oh, you've managed to get a space into that world major or this race, but you're only going to be jogging around easy. Well, you've actually taken that place away from someone that's trained really hard to try and get into that marathon. There's that whole argument there, which, to be quite honest with you, I'm not interested in getting into, because again, this video will suddenly become 20, 30 minutes long. What I want to do is try and wrap this up and give you my thoughts. But when I said the comment at the start, which was some of it is justified and some of it is not, I do feel that running influencers are causing a lot of issues in the industry. But of course, the other area is the brands themselves are creating a lot of this. And I want to showcase a couple of brands that I feel have been bloody amazing to work with for me personally, and people that are bucking the trend, in my opinion, and not adding to this issue that we are currently seeing. And let me give you my personal take on all of this, because this is where I can really sort of let rip rather than being diplomatic. I know you've probably gathered a few of my thoughts have snuck into what we've talked about earlier, but I feel like, as I said earlier, some feathers might be ruffled, but that's okay. I'm just trying to protect a lot of people who produce some bloody amazing content that inspires me. I mean, what you have to remember, for a lot of people out there that are just producing content, I run around with a GoPro and I film my stuff. Like, that's it. That's all I am. I don't have any status. I don't have any ego complex. I literally just GoPro film myself, or clip an Insta 360 camera to my head, and I race. And I might come and sit down here and talk to you a bit about running. That's it and nothing more. I'm not special. I'm not anything. I just want to be, I guess, as down to earth as possible. I connect with you guys in the comments as much as I can. I love to know about your journeys as much as I like to share my own. And I feel like it's so important that if you're going to put yourself out there in this industry and in this space, it's really, really important to engage back with people. I have a genuine burning desire to see people do well in this sport, and I love to hear people achieve their goals, which is why, as I said a couple of years ago, I kickstarted coaching, because I love to help people towards that as well, and that's been great fun as well. So my promise is to you, reading off my notes, I will continue to make my race footage as discreet as possible. Basically, clip the camera up here and film as I go. Make it as discreet as I can, not make a scene and not invade many people's privacy. Number 2, provide proper testing for my shoe reviews. I will continue to test my shoes in the way that I do. I will continue to tell you how I've tested them, and my Strava will continue to be open and public for everybody to go and see how those workouts and runs have gone. There is nothing more important in this area, in this space, than transparency. Number 3, I will continue to showcase my running journey because I like to think that I'm more of a content creator than a running influencer. I appreciate I've taken on sponsorships and stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I like to think that my running journey comes first over content, and all this content is made off the back of my running journey, and I hope you guys can understand that one. And finally, I will continue, number 4, to take sponsorships that will not dictate my training journey. I have been so fortunate, as I have just mentioned, to work with some incredible sponsors that have said to me, hey Andy, what are you training for? And I say, I'm training for this. And they say, great, can we support you? And I say, yes, absolutely, it will be an honor. And thank you very much for thinking of me. Not, hey Andy, we have a place at this race. Will you change your training and change everything to come and run this race? Again, I'm not anti that, and that's not necessarily the issue, because if you have enough notice and you have enough time, you can actually train for that and make it a goal race. I think what a lot of people have issues with in that area is bibs being given away to people that are just going to go and run that easy rather than making it a target race. And I appreciate there's a lot of people out there that are triggered by that, because they are what I would say runners at heart. They really kind of like, their training is their main focus, and it really boils their blood when they'll go and watch someone run a marathon major easy. Again, I'm not going to comment on that, and that's not my personal opinion, but I do know that that's how a lot of people feel about it. So I will continue to do my best to take sponsorships that will work with me. The clothing brands that I've worked with over the last few years have been 2 of the best clothing brands I've ever worked with, and they have all been extremely supportive of me, and I will continue to do that with any future sponsors moving forwards. I will always get them to jump on board with my journey rather than be dictated to. That is really, really important. And finally, I'll impart a bit of wisdom, which is absolutely not wisdom at all, but I will impart one last opinion on you. Transparency is key, guys. When I'm watching a content creator in the running space or not elsewhere, I watch a lot of digital product reviews and stuff like that, cameras, gizmos, gadgets. I always look for disclaimers. I'll always check how they've tested things. DC Rainmaker, a great channel, produces some of the best tech content out there. I love the fact that his disclaimers are so just matter of fact, and the content that he produces and the testing, the A/B testing is absolutely phenomenal. Next level stuff. That's what running YouTubers should be striving to achieve in terms of their testing protocols on shoes, their testing protocols on products, and the way how clear and transparent their disclaimers are. That man gets sent so much stuff, but you never ever once feel like he's got a bias towards a certain product. And I feel like he sets a really good standard. I wanted to highlight that because if you haven't heard of him or checked out his channel, you really should if you like technology reviews. So when it comes to running YouTube, make sure that the people you're following are very open and transparent with what they do. Make sure you can see how they've tested their shoes. Make sure if they're telling you that multiple pair of shoes are the best pair of shoes in the world, that there's something fishy going on there. And make sure out of everything that you are following them for their journey and not for anything else. Because I appreciate there'll be a group and a pocket of people out there that are just interested in being influenced and are a little bit more, dare I say it, shallow and not too worried about that sort of thing. But there's a lot of you out there that I know are affected by this and get really frustrated, as I do, and I hate it when my name gets dragged into things, because it does. Naturally, I like to be the grumpy old man in the corner, sat here out the way, just observing and sat here doing my own thing. It's so damn important to just keep yourself to yourself and keep your nose out of trouble. And I know at this point I have absolutely just dropped myself into trouble, and I'll wait back, and hopefully nothing major will come for it. Hopefully you guys appreciate the honesty, and if you've got any thoughts and opinions, please do share them below. I'm not afraid to answer anything, good or bad. I will answer every single damn question you have. Please feel free to drop them in the comments below. We'll leave it there. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. What are your thoughts? And of course, what I'd love to hear as well, in particular, is showcase and shout out some of your favorite content creators down in the comments. I'd love to hear who you watch. Obviously, I could be shouting out tons because I watch so many. But yeah, I'd love to hear who your favorites are as well. That's it from me today, guys. Bit of a different one, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you on the next one.